fantastic fourth graders. My name is Mrs. Whaley, and I am a district math facilitator for Knox County Schools. What that means is I have the best job. Seriously, I get to work with your teachers and students just like you every day, and I get to do math all the time. As you know, we are on an extended break at home due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Because we know that you miss being at school as much as we miss seeing you, we are going to provide you with some resources that you can work on at home. Every week we will give you a fun math task that reviews what you have already learned from your teacher this year. This week in fourth grade, we are going to review Unit 1. At the beginning of this unit, you learned all things place value. You learned the difference between standard form, word form, and expanded form. You also used a place value chart to understand the value of a digit in a number and how to identify the value of a digit based on its position in a number. Let's look at the example that I've created. Okay, you'll notice our number 27,139. I have it listed in standard form, which is basically just the digits themselves. Word form is written as how you would read it. And then expanded form is it has each place expanded out. So for example, you have 20,000 plus 7,000 plus 100 plus 30 plus 9. I talked about how you learned how to use a place value chart, and I have one listed below. You'll notice that we have from left to right, hundred thousands, 10,000s, thousands, hundreds, tens, and ones. And I've put our number in that place value chart. Make note that there is nothing in the hundred thousands place. That's because we don't have a digit in the hundred thousands place. So nothing needs to go there. Something else to make note of is that, do you see the black line that I put in the middle between the 7 and the 1? I did that to remind you about the difference between the ones period and the thousands period. And remember, between each period, you have to put a comma. So whether it's the thousands period right before the ones period or the millions period right before the thousands period, a comma needs to go there. The next thing that you learned about was how to compare numbers by using the greater than, less than, or equal to symbols. That way you're able to show the relationship between two multi-digit numbers. So my example, we have two numbers listed. Again, we have the place value chart going from hundred thousands all the way to ones from left to right. We're going to start left to right because you want to start with the highest value digit first when you're comparing numbers. So we're going to start and look in the hundred thousands place, and you'll notice that the top and bottom number both have a 3. So then now we move to the next place value, 10,000s. And again, same number. They both have a 7. So then we move to the next number, which is in the thousands place, and they both have a 5. But now I'm noticing when I look in the hundreds place, there is a 4 in the top number and a 2 in the bottom number. I wonder what that means. What that means is the top number is greater than the bottom number. So if we're reading that in standard form, from left to right, we would read the top number as 375,498, and the bottom number is 375,298. So the top number is 200 more than the bottom number. You also learned how to add and subtract using strategies and the algorithm. So let's first look at my addition example. Remember, addition means that you're joining things together, combining, and the answer to an addition problem is the sum. So in the first example that I have listed, you'll notice that I have it color-coded for you. This strategy is called partial sums. You started learning how to do partial sums in third grade. So you'll notice that in this example, we added 7 plus 2, which are both in the ones place. So 7 ones plus 2 ones equals 9 ones. Then we moved to the next value, and we said 3 tens plus 4 tens equals 7 tens, which is also equivalent to 70. Then we looked at the hundreds place, and so we added 4 hundreds plus 9 hundreds, and that equals 1,300, or you could say 1,300s. And then the last one is we have 3,000, and there's nothing underneath for us to add to that. And then we add all of those up. So 9 plus all the zeros is 9, 7 plus 2 zeros is 7, 3 plus 0 is 3, and 1 plus 3 equals 4. So the answer is 4,379. And this is our way of doing it with partial sums. The other way that you can do it also is the standard algorithm. You'll notice that when you're starting with the standard algorithm, you want to start on the right-hand side with the lowest value digit. So 7 plus 2 equals 9 in the ones place. 3 plus 4 equals 7. That's in the tens place. So really that value is 70. 4 plus 9 equals 3. Wait, no, it doesn't. Right? Think about that. You've got to regroup that one because 9 plus 4 is actually 13. And so then we carried that 1 over. We regrouped the thousands because you cannot have a 10 in the hundreds place right there. And then 3 plus 1 equals 4. And again, our answer is 4,379. So we did arrive at the same answer. So keep that in mind. You are able to use any strategy that you prefer. Try to push yourself to use more than one. Like, don't just get stuck either using the partial sums or doing the standard algorithm. Try to, I encourage you to challenge yourself to do more than one strategy. Next, we're going to look at my subtraction example. Remember, subtraction is meaning you're taking one amount from another, and the answer to a subtraction problem is called the difference. All right, so in the top example, you'll notice that we did partial differences, and I did that in the expanded form, which is a little different than I showed you in the addition example because I wanted you to be able to see it in a different way. So you'll notice in the top number, so we're subtracting 4,122. We're subtracting 2,213 from 4,122. So in the top example, I started from the left and went to the right. And I know a lot of times, especially when we're doing the algorithm, you're going to start from the right and go to the left. But when you're doing expanded form like this, whether it be addition or subtraction, you're going to want to start in the left-hand side. You can start on the other side, but then you're going to have to regroup the other way. So I started on the left, and I looked and I said, okay, so I know that I need to take 1,000. I need to give that to the hundreds place, right? So I took 1,000 from 4,000, so that made that 3,000. And I gave that 1,000 to the hundreds place because I knew that you couldn't take 200 from 100. And so then I made that 1,100. And then when I look at the next place, you can subtract 10 from 20. However, I did need to end up regrouping that because when you look at the ones place, you cannot take 3 from 2. So I did regroup from the tens place and gave a 10 to the ones place, which made the 20 in the tens place a 10, and it made the 2 in the ones place a 12. And then you could just subtract. So 12, starting in the ones place, 12 minus 3 equals 9, 10 minus 10 equals 0, 1,100 minus 200 equals 900, and then 3,000 minus 2,000 equals 1,000. And when you add those up, you get 1,909. At the bottom, I have an example of the standard algorithm. You'll notice that we got the same answer. So again, you can use either strategy that you prefer, but I would encourage you to try to use more than one. And so I started on the right-hand side in the ones place, and I knew that I needed to regroup, and then I worked my way backward. All right, so the next thing that you learned how to do was rounding and estimation. That was the last thing in this unit that you learned. You learned how to round to a specific place value and how to use those rounded numbers to estimate a sum or difference in a contextual problem. So let's look at my example. So rounding, so nearest 10 to the nearest 100, nearest 1,000, and so on. You could round to nearest million, whatever place value, it's asking you to do. So in this unit, when you guys were learning this, you used the number line to help you. And so you'll notice that I created a number line, and so I started with 170,000, and at the end of the number line is 180,000. And in the middle is our number, which is 175,000. So 175,000 is halfway between 170,000 and 180,000. So in that case, since the distance between both numbers is exactly the same, you have to follow the rule and round up to 180,000. Remember, the rule is if it's 5 or more, then you're going to round up. If that was 174,000, then you would have rounded down to 170,000. Estimation. So estimation basically is just a close guess that you make using your mathematical thinking. So it's not like you're going to just randomly guess something that doesn't make sense. It has to make sense. It has to be reasonable. And a great website, if you have access to that, is called Estimation 180. They have lots of fun estimation things, and they have the answers listed as well. And so I encourage you, if you have access to that, to try to go to the Estimation 180 site and check that out. All right. Now we are going to, that we've completed our review, we're going to talk about the math task that you were given this week. So we're looking at it, and we've got blog site visitors. So Max posts the number of visitors to his gaming blog. So I'm looking at the picture, and so it says Max's video game blog, gaming blog visitors. So in January, the amount of visitors he has, and he's got that listed in an expanded form, so I'm going to need to add that together. So he's got 32,051. And so if you have your paper with you, you might want to write the standard form beside it so that you'll remember that that's what that is. So 30,251 in January. Then in February, it's already written in standard form for us. And so they have 28,486 visitors. And then in March, he's got 30,018, but you'll notice that that is in Word form. They've got that listed in Word form for us. Okay. So I'm going to continue reading for you. In his April blog, Max will post hints about a popular new computer game. He sets some goals for the number of visitors he hopes to get in April. Get more than the total of 2 months combined, so any 2 months combined. Get between 999 and 9,999 more visitors than his total. And then, what is a number of visitors that would meet Max's goal? Tell why your number works. So you want to think about that for a moment. I'm going to give you a moment. Okay, so you got your brains thinking. So now we're going to turn to the next page. We're not going to solve this yet because I want you to look at Max's solution on the next page. Okay, so now we have Max's solution, and so we're just going to go through it step by step. So Max's solution at the first part. I need to find the total visitors for 2 months combined. So he says to himself, I know that I can pick any 2 months. I'll use February and March. So he chose to use February and March. Next, I write the number for March in standard form. So originally it was in Word form, and he converted it and wrote it into standard form. Why do you think he did that? Why do you think that he chose to convert it from Word form to standard form? Think about that for a moment. So he wrote that in standard form because it's easier to add when you have it in standard form than it is when you have it in Word form. So the next step. Then I add the numbers for February and March. So he's got 28,486 for February and 30,018 for March. And he's added those up. And you'll notice that he added them up using the partial sums method that I showed you in the previous example. And he started in the ones place. And he just added those up. So the next step, sorry about that. The next step would be for April, I want between 999 and 9,999 more visitors than 58,504 visitors. So he's thinking to himself, I can round 999 to 1,000, and 9,999 to 10,000. So 5,000 is about halfway between 1,000 and 10,000. Why do you think he chose 5,000? Like, why do you think he chose that number in his solution? Think about that for a moment. Okay, so one possible reason is that it's an easy number to work with, right? Because it's an even number. And it is between 999 and 9,999. Now, he could have used any number he wanted between those two numbers, but he chose 5,000. And so then he added up his total that he took from February and March. He got 58,504, and he added the 5,000 to that, the number he used to set his goal, and he ended up with 63,504. You'll notice he did the standard algorithm for this one. And then the last part says, my goal for April is 63,504 visitors. The number of visitors for both February and March is about 30,000. I want an extra 5,000 visitors. So 30,000 plus 30,000 plus 5,000 is 65,000. So his goal is 63,504. Okay, so now that we have seen how Max solved the problem, you're going to have an opportunity to solve it in a different way on the next page. So I want you to challenge yourself to come up with at least 2 different ways to solve the problem, different ways than Max did. Wow, you guys have been working so hard. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for sticking through this with me. Okay, so the last thing I have for you today is a challenge. I gave you a little sneak peek accidentally just a second ago. So the last thing I have for you is a challenge. You'll receive the answer to this challenge next week when we meet again for another math task. So let's look at this picture. What do you notice? What do you wonder? So think about that for a moment. Some things I notice are, wow, that is a lot of toilet paper. I also notice that they are stacked in a circle, and it looks like it's stacked 3 levels high. I wonder, why do they need so much toilet paper? Seriously, why? I hope they're sharing with somebody. All right, 4th graders, tune in next week for the answer to the challenge question and for another math task. Stay safe and healthy and have some fun.